What's up, folks? Welcome in. It is the Oddsmakers presented by Superbook Sports. Jonathan Von Tobel in buttons today, although I did roll up my sleeves. No collar either. It's the new look nowadays. Jay Kornegay and John Murray alongside in buttons and sleeves elongated. What's up, fellas? How's it going?
Yeah, we appreciate the upgrade. Thank you.
Of course.
What is he wearing?
part.
There's no buttons?
No, there's buttons, just no collar.
Is buttons.
There's no collar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Right?
Just like ours.
Yeah.
Mine's
Shorts,
a
though, huh?
little
Yeah,
stressed.
It's nice
Okay.
outside.
It was rainy.
drizzly,
It was
yeah.
rainy this morning.
Drizzling.
I couldn't even walk the dog.
I'm a Vegas guy through and through, so the rain, very scant. I enjoy it when it comes around. Although this winter has been very long and rainy.
Long winter. Windy.
I like it.
Does that mean they saw the shadow of the groundhog, or that means they didn't, if it's longer winter?
I think that means that it's longer.
Okay.
If he did see it.
Okay.
I don't know, actually. I haven't seen Groundhog Day in a long time. Tremendous movie,
I've
though.
seen like the first 20 minutes. I don't think I've ever seen
Oh,
it.
it's phenomenal.
So, how's the opening weekend of March Madness? I got to tell you guys, this is, in recent memory, this is one of the NCAA tournaments in the first two rounds where I've gone a little too hard. I had to recover on Sunday.
Drinking or gambling?
Both. Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot going on.
I can see that.
How was the
those
weekend for
those
you
two
guys?
things are definitely correlated.
Wait, let's just say this. On
no
Thursday,
doubt.
That's a correlated parlay.
when it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and you look down, you're like, wow, I've only been here for 2 hours. And it's quite the start to the weekend.
Where were you drinking? What were you drinking?
First time out, I was at the D, local spot out here in Las Vegas. Let's see, just a lot of stuff. I'm a whiskey guy. You know what I
you
mean?
are a
So
whiskey
on the rocks, or some Jack and Coke.
Whiskey
to
on the
kinda lighten
rocks
it
at
up.
11 in the morning. Well, no wonder you had a long weekend.
I had the day off.
Okay. Jeez.
Checked out the South Point Ballroom as well.
Yeah, I heard about that. You were there with Adam Hill and Mitch Moss, correct?
That's right. I was. Two Vegas celebrities.
Oh, yeah, those guys are great.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I went a little hard. It was nice, though. It was fun.
Yeah, sounds
How'd you
great.
do on your bets?
I think I'm down a little bit, not like a ton. So if I'm keeping track of everything, I think I'm down like, I don't know, a small, like I can get it back in one bet, essentially.
What
not
about
like
it-
one of those, I got to get it back one
Yeah.
bets, but you know what I mean.
What about if you added in what you lost drinking, like spent drinking, not lost?
John,
Spent.
I know people, so.
Right. Oh, you got your drinks for free.
Just going
Oh,
to
so
say
you
that
came
there wasn't a
out
lot of chump change spent on some of the drinks.
Then you came out ahead.
Yeah.
Then you're fine.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I feel great.
Great, good for you.
You sound great.
Of course, me
Good
too.
spirit. I mean,
Look, it's the tournament. I get to go to the West Regional that's out here in Las Vegas this week.
Awesome.
It's a great time to be able to.
I want to go to that.
I'm trying to go on Saturday. I want to go to the final. I got a
I'm
meeting
stuck here.
at 4 p.m. on Thursday. You believe
Well,
that?
technically,
Yeah, I'll tell you about it.
I know I'm
later.
a Superbook influencer. I'm also a credentialed media member out here in Las Vegas, so I get to take in the sights, if you know what I mean. I got credentials.
I don't know what you mean. You got a credential for the game.
Yes, so I'll be doing work for
be
for
nice.
some local stuff.
Well, I'm trying to go as a normal citizen.
Yeah, I won't be having
to the
fun.
regional final
That's
on
for sure. I got to be
Saturday.
professional.
What were the prices on those?
I haven't even looked.
$500
$500?
For the Saturday or Thursday?
together. Yeah, I think it's both games. Yeah,
What about Saturday?
or 3 games, right? Yeah.
$500 really isn't that much money anymore. You know,
It's like a hockey ticket around
it's-
here.
yeah, that's really
Sadly, it's actually very true.
not that. In this economy, that's really not that much.
I better win on Wednesday. What's Wednesday? NIT championship?
NIT?
So how many bets did you average per day, you think?
I'd probably
first
say
round,
like
second round.
per day, like 7, 8, something like that per day.
I'm going to go over.
Well, because you know what gets me, and I think you guys offer these too, but I really like the first to 15s or first to 10s are very popular.
Okay.
They're a lot of
People love
fun.
that. People love
And then second halves, obviously, when you're watching a lot of these games and you're paying attention, especially in the first round, what I like to do is when you get these higher seeded teams that face like the really plucky underdogs, right? That give them really good first half efforts and then ultimately kind of flame out in the second half. You know, the ones that came to mind were UConn was a good one against Iona. Gonzaga, that pushed against Grand Canyon. There were a couple of others throughout that really came through in the second half. I did not, thank God, fall into the trap with Purdue, which we'll get to momentarily. But yeah, like those little bets too. Like, you know, you kind of get wrapped up into it. But in game and then those first to 15s, they're a ton of fun.
Yeah. I can see, I mean, most people don't control it like you do.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 or 8 bets per day, that's pretty solid. Because
Yes.
the people I talk to are more like 14, 15, because I've asked a few people like that. Hey, they're managing their money. They're having a good time. Whiskey.
That's right. It's responsible fun.
I don't know if I'd recommend drinking whiskey on the rocks at 11 in the morning.
It was not. It started at 9.
9 in the morning. That's much worse.
It's a
actually.
day off. You know, what are you gonna
Okay,
do?
day off. What does that mean? All right.
Cut it with a little water. You're fine.
Okay, John, I'm sorry.
My son questioned me having a beer on the golf course at 10:30 in the morning. He
See?
goes,
Well,
Dad,
that's normal
it's like
behavior.
10:30. I go, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a beer. I do.
Pacific time.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it. Now he's older. He's like, yeah, give me 2 beers, Dad.
Yeah.
So I've recapped my weekend. How was the weekend for the Superbook?
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, Saturday obviously was a huge day for almost every operator out there. Thursday we broke even. Friday we broke even, unfortunately. Thursday was a lot of bad luck. We had a guy hit a bunch of parlays on Thursday that just wiped out everything. And then Sunday was a pretty, average winner for us. Mm-hmm. But overall, because Saturday was so huge, we'll certainly take it. So a very successful weekend for us.
Okay. So I saw a bunch of quotes from anonymous Vegas odds makers that were tap dancing on the graves of public bettors, saying that the tournament was, quote, the gift that kept on giving throughout the entire weekend.
Yeah, I know that
We
there
would
was.
never do that.
We would do that through tears. We would.
We would never do that. I like to build up sympathy for us. I usually try to tell the stories where we lost. I told one to, I think David Purdue, ESPN. Mm-hmm. We got really unlucky in the San Diego State game against Charleston on Thursday, and I was so upset, and I felt like the readers really should hear that story about us being unlucky and then feel sorry for us. That's what I was going for with that story.
I prefer that. Yeah. The laughing and the cackling about bettors losing money kind of rubs me the wrong way.
No, we don't do that. We would never. First of all, we would never let the guys in the back room laugh about anything.
Well, it's not really a jovial bunch. I know a few of you.
So there is no laughing back there. There's no cackle. I don't think there's any cackling. I don't
no
recall
fun back there.
Ed seems
Absolutely
like a cackler.
not.
Ed's not a cackler.
No,
he seems like he's
no. Ed, I've never heard. I don't think I've ever heard Ed laugh.
I feel like Ed's got a really high pitched laugh. Like
yeah, and then Jeff. Jeff doesn't even. Jeff's not watching the games though. Jeff's like looking at golf spreadsheets.
Right.
Yeah. So he doesn't. I don't think he even knows the scores of the basketball games.
I don't even think he knows the tournament even started. So he hasn't looked up yet.
There's no laughter, John. Don't worry.
Right. So a couple of questions from the weekend that was. First one, let's go to the big result earlier the week. Fairleigh Dickinson, Purdue. That was a winner or a loser for you guys?
That was a loser.
Shocking. Really?
Shocking, really. Yeah. All right. No, we have a few people out there that when they have those type of upsets, we get texts stating that must have been really, really good for us. And we have to say, unfortunately, no. And they're just baffled by that. So we do explain it. And you know what? Not just the people that we work with, and there's others out there. Even my wife would say, "Oh, well, that must have been really good for us." It's like, not really. Yeah. Purdue was 1 to 100, so we don't find that many people that want to bet 100 to win $1. Right. But on the other side of the coin, when you're getting 20 to 1. And you want action, and which most of these people do when they come in here, they're pretty much betting every game. And so when they see a spread like that and they see odds like that where they can go, all right, I can root for FDU and get 20 to 1. Give me $50 on that. Give me $40 on that. Give me $100 on that. Give me $5 on that. It accumulates very quickly. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, we were just rooting for Purdue to win that game. And unfortunately, and I talked to other operators, and everybody was in the same boat. They all lost on that game, and some of them took some pretty big hits. Some very recognized operators out there had a lot more liability than we did on that game. Mm-hmm.
So with a game like that and a result like that, the individual game, we say it's a loser, but are there a lot of money line parlays that are tied to Purdue in these scenarios? Like, does it help in that instance, or is it such a big loser that it doesn't really matter what ripple effects come from
it's
that?
A way bigger loser than, we do have some of that. Those that do those money line parlays, do they throw in Purdue? Yes, some of them do, but not a lot. I mean, that price does scare them away. It's really not a benefit to them by adding Purdue to those money line parlays. So we do have a little bit of it, but not to overcome all those bets that we took on FDU and the money line.
So that was one of 3 double-digit seeds in the first round that ended up winning. Princeton gets a win over Arizona. Furman gets a win over Virginia. I want to go to Furman, Virginia first. Did you guys lose on that one too? Because that's a really popular angle, right? It's the 13 and the 4. Everybody thinks, so who cares what the teams are? You just see the seeds. It automatically attracts money on some of those 13s.
Yeah, we did lose a little bit on that game. It wasn't a lot, but it was a loser. And again, a lot of people think, wow, you must have done well. It's like, nope. That's a case where Furman was a popular underdog at that. That was the first day, right?
Yeah. That was the second game.
Okay, yeah.
I was still there for that one.
Not a great
Mentally,
decision.
I was still there.
Not a great decision by that kid throwing the ball blindly.
Kihei Clark, what was it? And he's like a 17-year senior. He was there on their championship team.
A COVID senior?
Was he just trying to run out the clock, or was he trying to throw it to somebody?
No, he was trying to throw it to somebody.
There was way too much time.
There was a lot of time left.
Way short. Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't one of those where you throw it, you get possession and throw it up in the air really high so that the time will run out. Like, no, that was just a prayer. That was really bad.
Not great.
No, not
That's a
at
good
all.
school. UVA is a very good school. You expect a lot more than that.
That's very true. It's very true. And then I wanted to ask you guys this too, because we also had some other like upsets. But when you talked about, I wanted to go to some of the seeding matchups and recap those, because the one that stuck out was a lot of people like those 5-12 matchups, but all the 5 seeds won. So did that help you out? Is that noticeable at all when you get all of these 5 seeds to win? Because these seeding trends, if you will, are very popular.
Remember they were
San Diego
asking us
State,
about
yeah.
Drake, Jay?
Yep, Drake.
Yeah.
Our bosses or people we work with were shocked that we did so poorly on that game, because they were saying, "Oh, I heard Drake was a very popular pick." Well, not really. I mean, we needed Drake huge in that game against Miami. We had all sorts of parlays going to Miami. That was a real painful game watching Drake cough that one up. I think that was Thursday. Maybe
Yeah,
that was
16
Friday.
to it was a 16-1 run at the end of I think Friday. Yeah,
No good.
Yeah.
No good, John.
Well, I mean, there were some stories about Drake, and there was a lot of stories between 5 and 12, and so there were some educated play on Drake. But you never know, really. It's really tough to figure these out, these betting patterns, and how they unfold. And all of a sudden, the betting public, they love these underdogs. Drake was a perfect, underdog, but it was just a little short for the public eye. When they see +2, +2.5, nope, it's Miami. I'll take Miami -2, 2.5. But when it comes to someone like 6 or what was Furman? Furman was 5.
14.
Yeah. So it was. It's unpredictable, really. I wish they'd have a little bit more consistency, but you never know until the game tips on who you're going to need.
Yeah. Except for that Duke-Tennessee game. As soon as that matchup was set, we were just like, oh, my God, we're going to need Tennessee for our lungs on Saturday.
Hey, you got it.
Yeah.
So you
That's
still
exactly
have your
what
lungs.
happened.
There are some exceptions.
That's exactly what happened. That
Good
was a
for
good
you
one.
guys. Really happy to hear
Yeah, I
that.
figured you'd be happy about that.
How much how much swung on the 3-pointer with 0.7 of a second left on the clock with TCU and
Well,
Gonzaga?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was interviewed about that game a couple times yesterday.
wow.
So I don't, obviously.
Wait, hold on. First off, you're not saving the goods for this?
No, I just give it to whoever asks first.
What is happening?
So I don't consider that to be like some historically bad beat. They had to call a foul with 0.7 seconds left for Gonzaga to be covering the point spread in the first place. Now, once they made the 2 free throws, it was an amazingly bad beat that the kid actually bothered to roll the ball all the way past half court, grab it, and shoot it into the basket is unbelievable.
One of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the country, too, by the way. Like,
But
that's the other part about it.
Like, for me to consider something to be like an all-time bad beat, they've got to be covering the whole way.
Yes.
And give it up at the end. And that wasn't the case. TCU was up at halftime. They were leading at points in the second half, and they were covering with 0.7 seconds left. They could have just as easily not bothered to even call that foul and just let the game end.
Mm-hmm. Well, the same thing with San Diego State,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They didn't need to call that foul at 0.7. Did you guys happen to see that end of the Eastern Washington Oklahoma State game?
I did.
Because that was even probably worse. That was I would consider that a bad beat for those that had Oklahoma
that
State.
is the NIT, correct?
That is the NIT.
For those who are listening, like, huh?
Right.
Like, that's
NIT.
the NIT.
Wait, those two teams.
Yeah.
Right. No, you're right. It was NIT. I mean, Oklahoma State actually conceded the game. They were up by 14, dribbling out the clock, and then they didn't even take a shot because they conceded. That they were up by 14. That was it. They weren't going to rub it in. Eastern Washington gets the ball back with about 6 seconds to go. Coach is saying, hold up. The guy dribbles up to the top of the 3-point line. He looks over. The team's already started to shake hands, and he looked over. I'm not sure who shot it, but the player for Eastern Washington looked over to the sidelines, and coach is just like that. And he's like, looked over, took a look at the basket, decides to shoot it. All right. Now, the thing was, the cameras go right to the handshaking.
Right.
So you don't know if it went in or not.
No, you don't actually see the shot on TV.
It goes, and then all of a sudden the score changes. So it went from 14, they were a 14-point lead, down to 11. Of course, the spread was 11.5. And that was I thought that was worse than the Gonzaga thing.
I don't think I've ever seen that where the camera pans away and they're like showing the coaches exchanging handshakes, and then you just see the ticker go up by 3 points. You don't actually see the basket. That was really bad.
All right, last one about the first 2 rounds. So everybody and their mother was making a really big deal going into Sunday. I think it was 32-11 to the under the first 43 games or so, or whatever it was. But then, of course, on Sunday, what do you get? You get 6 of the 8 games to go over. So when it comes to betting trends like that, right, over a short sample size of a couple of days, is that something you guys take note of? Is that something I think the market takes note of it, right? Because on Sunday, almost every single one of those games moved to the under by about 2 or 3 points. Mm-hmm. But you guys, does that matter at all to you when you see the first 3 days and such a rash of unders come in?
I think we have a difference of opinions back there. I mean, we're aware of it. We know that the games are going under. We know that there's some trends that people will follow. It doesn't really affect what I'm thinking back there. I mean, we're aware of it. And I think that the talk on Sunday morning, actually, the discussions that we had, where there's some of the overs are going to come in. Mm-hmm. And it's, you're going to see a little bit more offense on Sunday than we did these other days. And that's exactly what happened. But I don't know. Like I said, we have a different opinion. What do you think?
I wouldn't put much stock into it all. I would still just book it based on the way we see the sharp bets come in on the totals. It would have no impact like what happened the day before. I did notice, one thing I noticed a lot this weekend was players losing their footing out there. I feel like that happened quite a bit. And I saw a lot of instances where the players slipped. And if you slip and fall to the ground, that's traveling.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they would call a foul on the defender. And it's like, what? Like the guy just slipped and fell to the ground. I don't know if
they don't call that anymore.
Right? It should be a travel. If the guy's untouched and he just falls with the ball, that's traveling.
Unless he keeps the dribble up.
These guys weren't keeping the dribble up. And they were
I just don't think they call they don't call 3 seconds anymore. They don't call. And when players fall down on the ground, they rarely call traveling anymore. Just like 3 seconds.
I don't like it
because it's not as fun. It's not as fun to call traveling. It's more fun as a ref to call like a
they like
going the other way.
Right, foul so that they can make a big demonstrative.
So they can go halfway down the court and go point the other direction. I got you. All right, that's a favorite thing. All right, we'll move on to what we have in the Sweet 16 and then eventually the Elite 8. We do get a West Regional out here for the first time. That's going to be a ton of fun. T-Mobile Arena, and it's a good one, man. UConn is going to take on Arkansas. UCLA taking on Gonzaga. UConn, a 3.5-point favorite, total of 140 against Arkansas. Then UCLA, a 2-point favorite, total 145.5 versus Gonzaga. I'm going to start with that second game. How popular is this one going to be? Because this looks like a primetime matchup. It's going to be fantastic. Thursday at 6:45 p.m. Pacific time. And two popular programs, right, when it comes to how good they're going to be in the grand scheme of things. And we saw the market move a little bit. Some spots open pick. Now we're up to UCLA -2.
I don't know. That last matchup, UCLA and Gonzaga, I think is going to be tremendous. I think that will get plenty of action. Two teams, two fan bases that are used to being here. They were just here a couple of weeks ago. So, when UCLA is playing at this level, their fan base somewhat shows up. Gonzaga will show up. I was a little disappointed, actually, for Vegas not getting Kansas out here because Kansas, they basically turned the Strip into Lawrence. They just travel so well, but still a terrific matchup in that first one, UConn and Arkansas. I think UConn underneath is just so big. They look really good.
We got to keep the ticket prices down. You want Kansas to be here too?
I'm not going. I'm not going.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow. I was rooting against a few of those teams. I wanted to keep the ticket prices somewhat manageable.
I was gonna bring this back to the fact that I know Kansas. There were some Kansas fans. They got a tough draw, right? So it played out. They got a tough draw, right? They had to travel a little bit.
They had to travel, yeah. I think Kansas really had a tough second round matchup.
Yeah,
and no Bill Self. Arkansas is probably better than they were seeded, but that was a great game. We did very well in that game as well. But I think it says a lot about how highly power-rated UConn is, that basically they have the same spread against Arkansas that Kansas did. UConn is playing to that high of a number right now. So the UCLA-Gonzaga, that's the marquee game in the Sweet 16.
Right.
But UConn-Arkansas is another very, very good game. The West Regional is really solid.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up power ratings. Let's go to the East region because, throughout the entire year, a team that never really stuck out to me was Michigan State, right? But then you find them in a second-round matchup against a 2 seed. They're only catching 3, right, against Marquette.
Well, Kansas State was playing to a bad number towards the end of the year. Their last regular season game, they were in Morgantown against West Virginia. They were like a 4.5-point, 5-point dog in that game. Second round on Sunday, they're a 3-point dog against 6-seeded Kentucky, and that was a great win by Michigan State over Marquette. So I get it. I don't know. I'm surprised it's as high as it is, I guess.
So you're expressing doubt in Michigan State being favored as 2 points here?
I think maybe Kansas State might be being a little overlooked there because they were very impressive against Kentucky on Sunday. That was a very good win.
We talked in the back room. We thought that it was going to be around a pick'em. And it showed up, Sparty at 2. We just thought it was a little high. We thought it would be a pick'em game. I mean, I know Michigan State, and a lot of people talk about Izzo and just being geared and being tournament ready, and I guess he deserves that. But Kansas State, I thought they've looked really good the first 2 games.
No doubt.
What about Tennessee? How much respect did they garner from the market by beating Duke the way that they did in that game? Because now they get Florida Atlantic. For those who weren't paying attention, the FAU number for that game against Fairleigh Dickinson was wild. What did you guys get up to? 16?
It's like 15 and a half.
15 and a half.
We would have, Jay talked about the Purdue game. He's right. We did very poorly on that game. We would have done even worse if Fairleigh Dickinson had won again on Sunday. Because, again, they were all betting money line against the Owls.
Yep.
Florida Atlantic almost coughed that game up in the second half. So we'll see. Tennessee got some sharp money here. They laid 5, moved us to 5.5. Incredible draw for the Vols because I think they were kind of left for dead. Point guard got hurt, but their 1 seed goes out in the first round. Their 2 seed goes out in the second round, and they've got as good a chance as anybody right now in the East region.
So you, John, you mentioned Kansas State maybe getting a little shorted near the end of the year by the market. I kind of feel like I'm there with Miami at this point right now, right? Because you see the game against Drake. You guys mentioned it. Drake was pretty popular when it came to some of the windows and some of the talking heads pointing Drake as a team that maybe could have made a run. That number was only about 2.5. They had to come back and win that game, but they do it. Market was against them against Indiana. They win that game comfortably. Now here they are taking on Houston. Like I wonder if maybe this is still getting short, but I like this Miami team, man. Like they're a good team. They made a run last year. They've got good guards, really high ceiling on offense. I'm very intrigued by this Miami team, and the market does not really seem to really like them that much.
Houston was just so impressive in the second half against Auburn.
Yeah.
I mean, I really thought they were in trouble going into halftime. They were down by 10, almost a home game for Auburn. They played that game in Birmingham, Alabama. And then in the second half, Houston locked in defensively and just crushed them. And Auburn was terrible at the free throw line, and I understand that Houston can't control that. But it was a very, very impressive second half performance. That looked like the best team in the tournament. If Houston gives that effort on defense, I mean, they might be the team that's cutting down the nets in a couple of weeks. That was impressive. But I do like Jim Larinaga a lot, to your point. He's a great coach. I thought when he left to go to Miami, he was just kind of riding off into the sunset, and it's been anything but. I mean, he's done an amazing job down there.
I remember talking about that, but when Miami shoots like that, they look so good. Yep. I mean, when they shoot well, any team that shoots really well, especially from the 3-point, all of a sudden, you got to upgrade them. And, the eye appeal that Miami has, especially after that shooting performance last game, they looked really good. But I'm kind of on the Houston bandwagon a little bit just because of how they play defense.
Yeah.
What about the South region? Alabama, the Mountain West gets the monkey off their back, right? Was it 10 out of 11 they had lost, and now the other 3 Mountain West programs did not fare very well. But San Diego State gets a pair of wins to move on to the Sweet 16. Alabama 7.5, total of 137. The total was weird. Did you guys move as much here? Because the total opened up like 137. During the week, got down to as low. Consensus, we'll call it 135.5. Now we're back up to like 137, 137.5.
We had the same kind of movement. I don't remember the particulars as far as the exact numbers, but I look at that South region now, and you look at San Diego State, Creighton, and Princeton, and then you got Bama. And I saw Bama was like $1.30 to win that South. I thought that was a little cheap price. I really did. It's like you got to go through San Diego State, which I think they can handle. All right. The San Diego State offense can struggle at times, and against a defense like that, I'm not expecting. Hopefully, it's a close enough game because I think we're going to need San Diego State in that game. But the other side of the coin, Creighton and Princeton, you got a 6 seed and a 15 seed, and a number 1 seed. I just think what sticks out to me is that price for the South region: Alabama minus $1.30 to win those 2 games. I think that's too cheap.
Yeah.
Well, I think Alabama looks like the best team in the country right now. So we had some of the teams that I thought were at the top get eliminated last week, like Kansas. But right now, Alabama, Houston look like they're a cut above everybody else. And I would point to Alabama as being the best team. Houston's got a tougher bracket in the Midwest. They've got to go through Miami, Texas, and then either Texas or Xavier. So the Midwest regional is really, really tough. It looks like the best of the 4 regionals. So could be some value there on Alabama with their 2 seed being knocked out and their 3 seed being knocked out. Arizona and Baylor both going out.
Well, on the other side, they have to match, where Purdue was eliminated, Marquette was eliminated. I guess Kansas State is still down there. But, on the left side of the bracket, Alabama, I'm not going to say they have an easy road, but an easier road than anybody on the other side. Sure. You got Houston, Texas, UCLA, and, of course, UConn and Arkansas. I mean, you can't, just bypass those two teams either. So a much tougher bracket on the other side. That's
such a big part of the tournament, though. Everybody gets all bent out of shape about the draw and about who's the overall number 1 seed, and none of it means anything. The only thing that matters is who gets the easy road once the upsets start. Houston got no favors on their side of the bracket. Alabama, like to Jay's point, pretty much all the other top teams on the left side of the bracket are out. Yep. So there's no excuse right now for the Crimson Tide. They should get to the Final Four, probably should be in the national championship game.
Real quick, do you guys have liability on Creighton? Because Creighton's one of those teams that everybody kept throwing out there as a potential dark horse to make a run. And, of course, they're in that region with Alabama.
I don't think we do.
No, we're good on Creighton.
Okay,
it's Texas and Gonzaga.
All right.
Yep.
Texas and Gonzaga are the two teams that we're stuck to, but Texas and Gonzaga have tough draws.
Yep.
Texas has to play Xavier and then likely Houston just to get to the Final Four. And Gonzaga's a dog against UCLA on Thursday, and they'd have a tough game either. No matter who won that other game, Arkansas, UConn, none of the point spreads would be too wide amongst those 4 teams. Those are 4 really good teams.
Just a reminder, Gonzaga was my national championship selection. So
we talked about that on the show. Were you nervous at all on Sunday against TCU?
Not at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
I will. Not at all, boy.
They're down by 5.
Even though they were down, and I will say that, I mentioned it was a small loser for the entire, first 2 rounds. Would have been a small winner had Gonzaga not allowed that 3-point shot to go in. Just put it that way. It was a very sad day.
Well, that is tough.
All right, before we get out of here, any notable bets came in on any of these games? Like anything that stuck out from a large wager selection? Just some respected plays
here
and there?
Some sharp money on Tennessee and some sharp money on Xavier. They took 4.5 right when we opened that game. Like right when we opened the game, they took 4.5 and went to 4. I think you can still get 4.5 pretty easily out there.
We have seen some sharp money on the CBI tournament.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, so San Jose State's making a run, I think, right?
No, they got eliminated.
Oh, they get eliminated?
Yeah, Radford beat them.
Tell you what, this is the depth of my CBI knowledge before we get out of here. I'm just going to say that back in 2016, okay, there was a little program, little engine that could. Nevada Wolfpack had a nice player, and his name is Cam Oliver. Their head coach, Eric Musselman, was his first year there.
Never heard of him.
Went there. They won it against Morehead State in the 3-game series. Went on to do some pretty good things. So I would not sleep on the results of the CBI of some of these young programs.
Why are we talking about the CBI? We're not even going to talk about the World Baseball Classic?
We would, but I'm out of time.
World Baseball Classic, terrific event.
Can't wait.
That was
the
an awesome
semifinal
game
last night was awesome. I can't wait to watch the final tonight. And we at the Superbook are big fans of the United States.
Yes, we are.
We need USA big in that game, not just because we love the United States, but also because we got big liability on Japan. So
okay. There you go.
Go USA.
Also a fantastic event. You guys still doing this win total contest for the baseball season? Of
course.
Yes.
See promotion. Check that out. Sign up for the MLB win total contest. You guys know I love contests. I'll sign up.
Yeah, I'm a big contest guy too.
In
I
person,
love being in a lot of contests.
Yeah, of course. Every time. Come on. That's all I do. You should have seen all the paper tickets I had over the week. There's a certain nostalgia to it. You got to do it. All right. Liners to sprinkle in for you guys. I just pulled the Ron Burgundy and read that right off of the email for some reason. If you have a gambling problem, of course, want to emphasize, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And if you're looking to catch Sweet 16 Elite 8 games at the book this weekend, make sure to come see us at the Superbook at the Westgate, Las Vegas, Lodge Casino in Blackhawk, Colorado, or the newly added Taft's Ale House in Cincinnati. And as always, up on social, Superbook Sports and Superbook.com. Stay on top of all the latest odds, boosts, and promos. Until then, we'll talk to you next week here on The Odds Makers.